someone who is a second or a third generation politician in particular is always judged with the standards that have been set for him or her. For example, my father became a politician coming out of Air Force, and he was absolutely new to politics. So he had, whatever he did was compared to his previous performances, and there was nothing that people could gauge him or judge him for. Obviously, I owe a lot to what my father has done in this country and made a name for himself, but I'm always, I think, by default compared to what he did or didn't do. So the bar is always high. And the other thing I find, Satish ji, is that when you meet somebody whose name you know before you know the person, all of us as humans tend to have ideas about how that person is before meeting that person. So when you meet somebody, your name is already known, and before you appear and talk about what you really are all about, there's an impression formed in people's head. I think all through my 17, 18 years since I've been in politics, you have to go and bend over backwards a little bit, because I know that person is thinking he's already a politician's son, he already, is very privileged, वो बोलते हैं चांदी की चम्मच मुंह में है और ये है वो है, that impression is already there. So you have to really make sure that you are able to convey who you are and what you are. I am not my father. It's important for people to see you as an individual, as a person. You have your own values, your own personality, your own working style, your own thoughts, your interests. But yes, there is certain inheritance you get as a son or a daughter. I'm very proud of being my father's son. In fact, I owe a lot to who I am today for what he was, what he left for me. But you have to make your own space, and you can only float and survive in any profession, whether it's business or politics, even films or sports, anything, if you make the cut. And in democracy, every 5 years, you have to go and renew a license. I know you guys have to do it once in 3 years, but we have to go once in 5 years to the people of this country and see whether we are worth it or not. And we win and lose, but it's the people of India who actually decide whether you are going to make the cut or not. So it's not difficult, it's not tough, but like I said, a majority of people who are in politics, their family members don't make the cut. They all try, some don't even try. But people who do try, it's always a little bit tricky because you're always compared. That's the only thing I find in the last 17 years of my experience. Gray very quickly and you lose hair very rapidly. If anyone says that as a politician, they're not stressed, believe me, they're lying. It's just not possible because today's day and age, everybody's stressed, whether it's a professional or a businessman or lawyer or architect, politicians more so. So stress is something that we all have to learn to live with in our lives. This is 21st century India, this is how it is. But you're right that the stress levels are higher because some things that you do, you can control. Your company, your employees, your management, your finances, your banks, your customers. But in politics, sometimes there are circumstances that, frankly, I have no control over, but it still impacts me largely. So something happens in some other part of the country, which I have no control, no influence over. It will impact sometimes positively, most times negatively. So that kind of adds to the ulcers in the stomach, because something that you have no control over still impacts your life. And a life of a politician, frankly, today, mobile phones and technology and expectation levels so high, you really wish you had 36 hours in a day and not 24. But it's something you have to learn to live with. And I really respect politicians who are able to de-stress and mentally switch off once in a while. Frankly, I'm not able to do that. My mind still is buzzing middle of the night, first thing in the morning, and I need to learn how to perhaps grow a thicker skin. I need to learn to do that. I'm working very hard at it. I haven't succeeded yet. And also to kind of unwind and let things go, because what has to happen will happen. But us thinking and fretting about it isn't going to change very much. But as a politician, I was thinking that when I'm in opposition, life will be much less stressful. You have less responsibility, less answers to give. But it's exactly the opposite. In opposition, it's a 24/7 job. But like I said, that stress levels are high for everybody, including politicians. Every politician has and should have ambition, because if you don't have ambition in any profession, you're not going anywhere. And the second thing is that if you don't enjoy what you do, I feel you can't be successful. In terms of privacy, I think it's a matter of concern, but any of us who is working in public life wants to expand sphere of influence, wants to know and talk to more people. But anonymity everybody is what they like. It can't be selective, unfortunately. I'd like to be anonymous for 2 hours in a day or on the weekends, but that's not possible. You can't select to be anonymous when you want to be. It's certainly a price one has to pay. It's not something that I personally like, that you should have 24 hours of, poking nose about your personal life, but it's something that is accepted in this country, and that's how it is. It's not easy to deal with, and I know a lot of people who are uncomfortable, but that's how politicians in this country have been. So I don't have any answers of how to deal with it. You just have to learn to live with it. But if you get overly concerned about it, then it hampers your own personal life. So I think someone, like I said, this whole thick skin business, no one has to start growing it very quickly in life and not bother about what people are saying, because it's your life to live. In a few decades, it's all over. It's, it's your age, it's your family, it's your friends. If you don't make the most of it in these years, 20 years later, you can keep regretting as much as you want. But one thing that can't come back is time. As they say, everything else you can make. A ship, a plane, a satellite, a phone, a car, a bottle of water. You can't make land. You got to, make best use of that. Similarly, time isn't coming back, no matter how much you want it. So privacy is something that you can't protect as much as you'd like to in this country, which has now become the norm. But I think one has to just accept it.